Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Porsche 911 Carrera. I got asked a question the other day, is the base model 911 slow? If you're coming into the 911 range from the Boxster 718 or just from a different brand and stepping up to the 911, to take that first rung on the ladder being the Carrera, is that somehow base? Will the car feel base? Will the car feel slow? And today we're going to answer that question. A friend of mine walked into a dealership, the large glass doors opened, and he wandered in to see a dealership full of cars. The first thing he saw was a Porsche 911 Turbo S. Crayon, black interior, crayon stitching. And he was like, look at this, it's got so much presence. Proud looking sports car, staunch. And he wandered around, saw the price tag and the spec list and was just like... And beside it was a 911 Carrera in gentian blue. And he asked me, if I was to get that car, would I always be wanting more? If I dive in to Porsche ownership and get the 911 Carrera, we're talking about the 992 911 Carrera, would I always be thinking, oh, I should have got the S, or oh, do I step up to the GTS now? Or the GT3 or the turbos? Where does it sit? And what's it like to own? What's it like to drive? Will I always be thinking, oh... No, you won't, is the answer to that question. And here's why. In the 911 family, the Carrera is the first step on the ladder. In the past, if you were a Porsche salesman, potentially you would be urging people, if they were looking for that little bit extra, to move up into the S.
Tell us about it.
Well, the body works pretty well rooted, but, well, they never give up, these old sixes, do they? You know, little hard to start, runs like a haunted shithouse for a bit, but once she warms up...
If we start with the 996, of course, we're talking naturally aspirated cars. To move from the Carrera to the Carrera S, you're moving from a 3.3 litre engine to a 3.6. And that extra capacity really helped day to day if you're after a bit more oomph. And the same with the 997. Still naturally aspirated, of course. You were going from 3.6 litres to 3.8 when you're stepping up from the Carrera to the Carrera S. And especially in the 991, where you went from 3.4 to 3.8 when moving from the Carrera to the Carrera S. And we're talking Gen 1, of course. But now with turbocharged engines, which were introduced in the 991.2, 911 range, and now with the 992, the large jump and the extra oomph, and the salesman saying, well, if you want that extra pop, a little bit more power, you have to go for the S, is not the case anymore. Let's look at the numbers. So let's just look at 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 60 mile an hour. The 996 Carrera did it in 5.2 seconds. The 997 Generation 911 did it in 5 seconds. The 991 Generation 911 Carrera did it in 4.8 seconds. Are you seeing a pattern? Even the mighty 997 Gen 1 GT3 with a Metzger powered engine did the 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 0 to 60 mile an hour in 4.3 seconds. Now the 992 911 Carrera that my friend was asking me about does this sprint in 4.2, mainly due to the turbocharging, obviously. But you're talking about a base model car that's as quick as the previous 997 generation GT3, the hero car. Now this type of acceleration day to day isn't slow. It's a wonderful car to drive. I particularly like base model cars. I think they're honest. I think they're easy to use day to day. We strip away some of the things that aren't necessary and you've got the base offering from the Porsche brand in the 911. Yes, it's great to have more spec, more options, but I do love a good base model. And I lived with the 911 992 Carrera and it does not look like a base model. In the 992, every Porsche 911 gets the wide body, which was previously reserved for the turbo and higher range models. So now you get the wide body in the Carrera, which looks super purposeful. You get the same interior, beautifully designed, classic looking dash, center console, steering wheel, you're kitted out in the 992. There's a nice test loop around where I live, where I was driving the car at night, and it really sings. The Carrera speaks to you, it really feels like a sports car. You never feel like, oh, I need more power. On the street, it's a perfect combination. And just like the old classic cars, it's nicer to have a slightly less high ceiling, where you have to push all the way up to get on the limit and make the car feel alive. The 992 Carrera really is a sophisticated car. It looks beautiful day to day, it looks great on the road. In and amongst the other cars, it stands out. So the answer is no, it won't feel like a base. It's a special car, just like every other 911. And if you're out on a coffee and cars drive, and you go for a drive on the twisties with your friend in a 996 GT3, 997 GT3, you won't be embarrassed. With the torque from the turbocharged engines, you'll be right there. Alright, that's it for me. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.